You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Got a big better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of What If Naruto Enters Kamenrider. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Juubi no Shinju on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. A rocky, desert-like terrain. Colored almost red with the setting sun. Craters layered the field, varying in size and depth. Some still occupied with either warm rising smoke, or a corpse or two. A storm of sand covered the area in a wide range. From a bird's eye, a city could be spotted in the distance, laying in ruins as tall buildings tilted to the side, covered in holes. Black smoke rose to the sky from various points. The ground shook as numerous men and women, dressed in rags, covered in dirt, and carrying weapons of any sort, charged together in a single direction with war cries. The large group was accompanied by driven jeeps and motorcycles, their roars equally ferocious. As they charged, their eyes were wide, some filled with determination, some foe, most filled with worry and fear. But whatever the emotion that fueled them, they all charged together with roars, prepared for the battle ahead of them. And their target? A single lone figure in the distance. Upon closer inspection, the figure looked to be wearing black and gold armor. The figure stood unmoving and unfazed, their strange katakana-shaped crimson visor staring at the army as it drew closer. No sign of nervousness or weariness whatsoever. Simply standing at the spot, calmly. This, however, did not spark the army with hope. The opposite in fact. But still, even with fear gripping their chests, they began to fire their weapons at the figure. With faint hope that somehow, someway, they could at least deliver some form of damage. Unfortunately for them, any bullet that soared through the air toward the armored figure, were stopped before they could even get mere feet from him. Stopped, by some invisible force. The bullets disintegrating on contact. With a hidden smirk under their helmet, the armored person lifted a hand up, palm aimed at the charging troops. Pathetic, the figure states with a dark, deep voice. With but a twitch the hand, a large force of energy rippled outward, causing explosions to erupt around the figure, now revealed to be male, striking the army, who were blasted backwards with shouts of pain, being dealt great damage in turn. Raising his head, the armored man watched as dozens of missiles flew towards him from the sky. With a scoff, the man simply snapped his fingers, causing the missiles to explode. A forest. Lush with trees and greenery. The sounds of animals echoed from any and every direction. Deeper into the forest, ruins of an old ancient temple laid, covered in moss and vines. Surrounding a massive tree, stretched up higher than any tree thought possible. Reaching up hundreds upon hundreds of feet into the sky, the bark and base stretching wide for yards. Up into the thick cover of leaves, a fruit grows rapidly from a branch. An apple. Its color shining as golden as the sun, glowing just as brightly. A castle. Large and majestic in appearance. Shining as if made out of pure crystal. Inside, a large, spacious chamber. At the end of the room, laid two pedestals, resting under a wide sunroof. The light of a full moon shining through. On top of the pedestals were two pillows, thick and fluffy. Safely holding the contents resting on top. On the left, a crystal diamond. Glittering like a pure clean ocean. On the right, a golden gem. Glowing mystically under the light. Two figures appear, their image covered in darkness. They approach the pedestals. The diamonds responded to their presence as they began to glow. growing brighter the closer they got. Stopping in front of the diamonds, the figures look at the other, before with a shared nod, they reach for the diamonds. The diamonds glow even brighter, encasing the entire chamber in light, hiding the figures from view, until Oane-chan. Bonsai. Oof. A pair of eyes snapped open, stretching as wide as possible, as a heavy object slammed down onto their stomach with the force of Kami's fist, breaking the victim out of their dreaming state. And possible a rib or two. And the attacker? Giggling madly like the small devil child she was. Onie-chan. The young redhead child called out happily at the wheezing teen, a wide smile stretching across their face. Ka-san said to get up. Come on. Sadly, their brother could not speak, too busy having their soul leap out through their mouth. All the while, the child giggled. Name, Naruto Namikaze. Age, 16. Thoughts for the day, this girl is going to kill me one of these days. Name, Azuka Namikaze. Age, 6. Thoughts for the day, hee hee hee. 10 minutes later. Hee 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 hee. Okay, now you're starting to creep me out, Azuka-chan. Naruto told his sister as he walked down the stairs, said sister sitting on his shoulders. Seriously, she's been giggling while I was brushing my teeth and getting dressed. What's got her in such a hyper mood? Well, more hyper than usual. He thought as he made his way into the kitchen. His sister giggling all the way. Morning sunshine. His father, Minato, teased, spotting his children from behind his newspaper. Morning. Naruto responded, his voice dull and tired. He crouched next to a chair, allowing his hyper sister to climb down onto the seat. With a cheer, the small redhead dug into her prepared breakfast plate, while Naruto sat on the chair beside her with a yawn. At that moment, a appealing woman with long red hair entered the dining room with a plate of food. About time you woke up, Naruto-kun. Kushina said as she put the plate down in front of her son, greeting him with a peck on the top of his head. Naruto just grunted as he ate his food, too tired to respond. Well, maybe a sentence. Yeah, thanks for sending the little minx to wake me up. Nearly broke a rib, so yeah. Thanks. He said, sending his mother a dull glare. Kushina just smiled at him as she took her seat. Well, maybe it'll teach you to wake up properly and on time. You're nearly about to be late to class. She said, starting to eat her own breakfast. Yuriko already left. Looking at the clock on the wall, Naruto bit back a curse, seeing that he was going to be late. With the speed of a starving man, he chugged down his plate. Done. Thanks for the food. He said rapidly, getting up from his chair. He moved to grab his bag and head out the door to run, toward school, when Kushina stopped him. Wait a minute, Naruto. The younger blonde Namikaze looked at her. I don't have time, Ka-san. If I'm late, Irika-sensei will dash. I need you to take your sister to school. Naruto looked at her, jaw dropping. Yay! Onie-chan's taking me to school, Databane. Azuka cheered, happy her big brother was going to take her. Naruto, on the other hand, did not share the same feelings. Mom! You can't be serious, Databeo. I'm going to be late. Unfortunately for him, his mother was a merciless woman. Well, you should have woken up earlier. Your father and I need to head over to work early today, so we need you to walk Azuka to her school. She said, getting up and took her son's empty plate to the kitchen to clean. Naruto looked at his father for help. Minato just covered his face with the newspaper. Naruto groaned, while Azuka continued to cheer. F all kinds of ducks, as the saying goes. On top of the couch, an orange-furred fox laid. It opened one eye, revealing dark red irises as it looked at the humans, before closing it back down to return to its nap. Naruto sighed as he and Azuka walked down the sidewalk of the city, heading towards the latter's school to be dropped off. Taking a look at his watch, Naruto growled when he saw that it wasn't working. Stupid hand-me-down. Why can't his parents get him a better one? Instead, he got a stupid old watch that belonged to his grandfather or something. Dropping his arm with a frustrated groan, he instead turned his gaze up to the sky, watching as clouds pass overhead. He had half a mind to skip class today. He was already late, so why not take the rest of the day off? Though, he knew his butt would be paced if his mother found out. And he would really like to avoid his angry mother at all cost if he could help it. You'll never have a future if you are skipping class, Naruto. She would no doubt tell him, with his father agreeing. Future, huh? Oba-chan. When I grow up, I'll become someone important and strong. I'll become king. Yeah. King of Japan. I'll be a hero, like Gigi. Closing his eyes, Naruto smiled faintly, recalling an old memory. King, huh? I really had an active imagination back then, and Ba-chan, she always believed I could do it, I miss her. He thought sadly, thinking about his deceased great-grandmother, who passed when he was young. Azuka's age, in fact. Opening his eyes, he glanced at his smiling sister, growing one of his own, with a hint of sadness. Sad that she would never meet their kind great-grandmother, but he promised that she will always keep her memory alive with stories about her. Late. I'm gonna be late. Hearing an all-too-familiar voice, Naruto and Azuka turned around, and spotted a figure in the distance, quickly running in their direction. Naruto sighed, knowing all too well who it was. He lifted up an arm in the air to call towards her, when he spotted something on the ground in the figure's path. He opened his mouth to warn her, but it was too late. Miho. Thud. Oh wee. Ow. Brother and sister winced as they watched a blonde teen in a school uniform both step on and trip over a black-furred cat, and fall over on her face. Sighing, Naruto made his way toward the teen, Azuka right behind him. Always the klutz, aren't you, bunny? He muttered, approaching the wincing girl, who sat up with a groan, her long side ponytail spurling on the ground. The girl as she rubbed her reddening nose, her crystal blue eyes narrow in pain as she sniffed, no doubt holding back the urge to cry. Name, Usagi Tsukino. Age, 15. Occupation, Naruto's best friend since childhood. Alias, bun-headed crybaby, name picked by Naruto himself, with multiple agreements. Even from her own parents. Usagi has been his best friend since the two were toddlers, with their mothers being old-school friends. The two blondes have been as tight as glue since then, even with their difference in personality. Naruto was as tough as nails, brave, as well as reckless sometimes, while Usagi, well, she cried at every little thing. Bugs, insects, having the last cookie taken before her, a paper cut, not being able to find her shoe, everything. But like the saying goes, opposites attract. Since they were young, he and Usagi would always be hanging out together. Be it the playground, the mall, reluctantly on his part, the arcade, both sharing a love for games, and even going to the same school. Though, Naruto was an upperclassman, while Usagi attended the grade below his. Even still, they would always hang out during lunch, occasionally mixing their lunches together and sharing it with each other. As stated, tight as glue. Some people even commented if the two were related, with their similar shade of golden hair, and bright blue eyes. Especially if one looked at Usagi's family and noted the difference in hair and eye colors. There were one or two theories flying around, but neither Naruto nor his family cared. The Tsukino family were great friends to the Namikazes, practically family altogether. Seriously, Usagi. It's too early to be falling on your face, don't you think? He teased, holding out a hand towards her to help her out. Usagi pouted at him, but accepted the help as she took his hand and got up. The two blondes looked at Azuka, who picked up the meowing cat, as the girl looked her over to make sure she was okay. Usage gasped. Oh no. I'm so sorry, kitty. I didn't mean to step on you. Are you okay? She asked, leaning close to the cat. Naruto began. Meow. Slash. Ah. Usagi yelped as she jumped back, small claw marks on her face. Naruto winced at that. Can't say you didn't deserve that. He muttered, before looking at the cat as Asuka tried to calm it down. It was then that he spotted something on the cat's forehead. What the? Are those bandages? He muttered, seeing 2 bandages crossed on top of the other pasted onto the cat's head. The cat began to claw said bandages, attempting to remove them with meows of discomfort. Don't worry, I got it. Hold still. He told the cat, gently removing the things. There we go. He said with a smile, before he saw something strange. Is that a crescent-shaped bald spot? Usagi asked, rubbing her small cuts, also staring at the cat. There, on the cat's forehead, with the points pointing upward, was a yellow crescent moon mark. Looks more like a tattoo. Naruto commented. Just then, the cat jumped out of Asuka's arm, landing on top of Usagi's head, before using it as a platform to leap off from. The unexpected force caused Usagi to fall back down on her butt, as the Namake's siblings followed the cat with their eyes. The cat landed on top of a tall brick wall fence beside them, turning around to stare at the 3 below. Its wide, reddish-brown eyes staring at the 3 for a moment, making the 3 freeze under its gaze. The cat looked from Asuka to Naruto, finally turning to Usagi. It stared at the blonde girl for a moment, before it finally turned around, and left. Blinking, Naruto shook his head to shake away the daze he was put under. That was weird. He muttered, turning to Usagi and helped her up. You okay, bunny? Yeah. Usagi muttered, before glaring at Naruto. And how many times do I have to tell you not to call me that, Whiskers? Now it was Naruto's turn to glare. Oi. Don't call me Whiskers, rabbit. He shouted. He couldn't help being born with strange lines on Biff's face that resembled whiskers. As the 2 friends glared at one another, in the back, Asuka giggled at them. After a moment, Naruto turned his head away with a scoff. Whatever, Databeo. I need to get Asuka to school. School? Usagi asked, blinking, before her eyes widened in remembrance. Ah. I completely forgot. I'm going to be late. Naruto waved her off. I'm already late enough, as I need to walk Asuka. You, on the other hand, don't share the same excuse, so you should get going. With a cry of panic, Usagi began to run towards the direction of the school. Bye, Asuka-chan. See ya in school, Naruto. Bye, Bunny-chan. Asuka shouted with a wave. Naruto chuckled as he watched Usagi nearly trip at the nickname, but quickly corrected herself and kept running. She is so gonna be late. He said, sighing as he knew he will also be punished. He shrugged. Oh well. Let's get going, Azu-chan. Hi, Oniya-chan. With that, the siblings continued on their way. Unaware that across the street, a figure watched them, dressed in dark clothing, their head covered by a hood. The figure watched the siblings, before turning away and walked off, clutching what looked like a thick book under their arm. Bye, Oniya-chan. Naruto smiled as he waved at Asuka, watching as she entered her school building. Letting out a sigh, he shouldered his school bag. Well, better head to my own school. I can just hear Iruka-sensei's scolding now about being late. Man, he's so strict. Guy needs to get himself a girlfriend. He thought. Naruto Namake's. Blinking at the call of his name, Naruto turned around, and saw someone standing behind him. It was a girl, looking to be his age. She was pretty, having long dark hair in a Harem style, brown eyes, and pale soft skin. She wore a strange white attire, he didn't even know how to describe it. A white dress and black leggings and white sandals. Was that a white cape? Can I help you? He asked, rubbing the back of his head. He's never seen this girl before, so he wondered what she could want from him. Did she go to his school? Please, whatever you do, do not accept the watch. The girl said, a pleading tone in her voice, as she stared at him. I'm sorry. The girl continued, ignoring his question. Please. If you do, the future will be in danger. I beg of you, do not listen to the black demon. Do not accept the watch. Please, Naruto-san. Naruto held up his hands. Okay, slow down. I don't understand what you're talking about. Black demon. Watch. You're not making any sense. He said, backing away from her in case she was crazy, which she might just be. Listen, I need to get to school. Okay. He walked away, not letting her answer. The girl frowned, looking after him. Please. I know I'm not making sense, but you must believe me. Whatever you do, do not take the watch. The future depends on it. She shouted at him, but Naruto just kept walking. Left alone, the young woman frowned deeply. This isn't good. I need to convince him before it's too late. What a weird girl. Naruto muttered, glancing slightly over his shoulder back at the stranger. Shaking his head, he pushed that encounter out of his mind for the moment, focusing on getting to school and the scolding from his teacher he will no doubt get. As he walked, the same figure in black from before watched him from a high bridge. They had their book in hand, opened. Eyes lowering to the contents inside for a moment, the person then looked towards the stranger in white, watching as she walked away, and smirked. Snapping the book shut, the figure walked off. Jounin Junior High Room 3-1. Naruto Namikaze. You're late. Naruto chuckled sheepishly, scratching the back of his head as he stood in front of his angry teacher. Hee hee. Sorry, Iruka-sensei. Had to take my sister to her own school first, Databeo. Yumino Iruka's brow twitched as he stared at his whiskered student. Correct me if I'm wrong. The man started slowly. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't take an hour to make a drop at the elementary school and get here. Well. Naruto dragged, looking away. You see, there was this black cat and dash. No excuses. Especially those used by Kakashi. Iruka shouted, his head comically growling huge. The students flinched at the shout. Go stand in the hall. Faster than Naruto could blink, he found himself standing in the hall outside the classroom, the door slamming behind him. Naruto pouted, leaning against the wall. Sheesh, he's not in a good mood today. Wonder if it's because I was sleeping in class yesterday, or because of my exploding coffee prank the day before, or the paint bomb the day before that. Could be any of those reasons. Sighing, Naruto had no choice but to lean against the wall and wait until he was allowed back inside. Unbeknownst to him, directly under him in the level below, Usagi was also forced to stand in the hall for being late. As he waited, Naruto frowned as he thought back to the dream he had. It felt so real. That dream, it was like watching a war. And that man. With a hidden smirk under their helmet, the armored person lifted a hand up, palm aimed at the charging troops. Pathetic, the figure states with a dark, deep voice. With but a twitch the hand, a large force of energy rippled outward, causing explosions to erupt around the figure, now revealed to be male, striking the army, who were blasted backwards with shouts of pain, being dealt great damage in turn. Just thinking about him, sends a shiver down my back. Who was he? Was he a kamenrider? He wondered. Japan was famous all over the world, for its past real-life monster attacks. Hell, rumors had it that the rest of the world labeled Japan as both greatest and worst place to visit. Bad for living, but great for tourists. Where else would one see actual monsters? Note the use of sarcasm. Still, for its approximately 50 years of monster attacks, another thing Japan was famous for was its actual superheroes. Not simple comic book heroes, or Saturday morning superheroes, but actual, real, brave superheroes. They were known as Kamen Riders and Super Sentai. Mysterious men and women who appear whenever there was danger and people needed help. Known for wearing high-tech looking armor by the former, and color-coded suits by the latter. There has been so many heroes that appeared throughout Japan's history, as far back as the 1970s with the first appearance of riders and Sentai. Kamen Rider Ichigo and Himitsu Sentai Goranger. Since then, so many more riders and Sentai, of different designs and personalities, have been appearing, with the continuous appearance of monsters. They have become the beloved protectors of Japan and its citizens. But that guy. Naruto thought, recalling the way that black and gold man would hurt those people. He didn't look like a hero. Maybe a bad guy? He wondered, before shaking his head. Instead of thinking about a dream, he instead turned his thoughts to the recent events happening around the city. Sailor V. She was a mysterious new crime fighter that's been popping up around town, taking down store robbers and helping people. She didn't look like a Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, with her costume looking similar to a sailor's suit, or a female school uniform, with a red domino mask covering her eyes. She also had long blonde hair, and a red bow on the back of her head, with a larger one on the front of her suit. Didn't really scream superhero, but meh, what did he know? He knew Usagi was a huge Sailor V fan. He also thought Sailor V was pretty cool. Any teen would like to be a superhero, but wasn't as big of a fan as his friend. He admittedly liked Kamen Riders and Super Sentai more. But hey, at least Japan, or at least Tokyo, has another hero protecting it. He was knocked out of his thoughts as the door opened, and Iruka-sensei allowed him back inside, with a scolding, and extra work assigned as punishment, much to his chagrin. With a sigh, he took his seat. Feeling a nudge, he turned his head to the person beside him, seeing the grinning face of his pal, Kiba Inuzuka. Sheesh man. Iruka-sensei looked ready to pop a BLD vessel. Kiba joked. Troublesome, muttered another one of his pals, Shikamaru Nara. The lazy genius opened a closed eye at Naruto. Did you have to anger him so much? I was napping. He drawled. Naruto gave him a deadpanned look. You're always napping, Shikamaru. Troublesome. Sitting beside his best friend, the eating teen known as Choji. Akimichi swallowed his full mouth. Did you really see a black cat? He asked the whiskered teen. Naruto leaned his head on his fist, elbow on the desk as he nodded. Yeah. Ran into Usagi on my way from taking Izuka to school, and she accidentally stepped on the cat. Got scratched on the face for it. That was pretty fun, Dadabayo. He finished with a slight chuckle. Kiba smirked. I bet. Stop talking and pay attention. Iruka shouted at the conversing teens, causing them to shut their mouths. Glaring warningly at the group, Iruka cleared his throat. Now, I've graded your tests. Remember, these scores count for 35% of your year-long score. Think of it as preparation for your midterm exams, which will be here sooner than you think. Some of you did good. Others could try and study harder. He stated, before he started passing the graded tests. Once Naruto and his friends got theirs, they looked at their scores. Aw man. Kiba moaned, looking at his 55. My mom's going to kill me. Choji let out a breath of relief, looking at his 78. Awesome. Mom promised to make my favorites for dinner if I got a passing grade. Want to come over, Shika? He asked the Nara, who looked bored at his 100. Sure, he muttered with a shrug. Kiba turned to Naruto with a teasing smirk. What about you, Naruto? Low score again. Naruto smirked, and held up his test. Not this time, dog breath. Read M and weep. He boasted, revealing that he got an 85 on his test. What? Kiba nearly shouted, seeing the score. How did you score so high? You barely get 70s. Naruto smirked, puffing his chst in pride. Easy. Mom threatened to throw away my ramen if I brought home anything below an 80. So of course I studied as strong as I could. Anything for my precious ramen, Databayo. Shikamaru sighed at him. Of course. You're so troublesome, Naruto. Humph. Kiba crossed his arms with a grumble. It, that means I scored the lowest. He muttered angrily, before his smirk returned. Still, what else should we have expected from our future king? I told you that in confidence. A blushing Naruto shouted in embarrassment, as his friends laughed. Crossing his arms, he grumbled. He never should have told the guys about his childhood goal to be king. Would you guys keep it down? Sheesh, you're so loud. A teen girl with long light blonde hair, nearly platinum, light blue eyes, and light skin tone stated, turning away from the boys with a sigh. Good grief. She muttered, before smiling as she looked at her high 95 score. Of course. What did you get, Sakura? She asked her childhood friend, who smirked, holding up her paper, with a 100 on it. Should have expected. I swear, you and Shikamaru can be scary smart sometimes. Sakura chuckled. Goes to show you the importance of studying. She practically boasted. Ino rolled her eyes with a slight smirk. Yeah, whatever. Just don't get a big head over it. I don't think your forehead could get any bigger. She teased, poking Sakura's slightly bigger than average forehead, getting her hand swatted away from the blushing Pinkette, who covered her forehead with a pout as Ino laughed at her. A few seats away, one Hinata Hyuga smiled proudly as she looked at her score of 98. She hoped it will please her father once she showed him. Glasses-wearing teen, Shino Aburame, hummed lowly as he looked at his own score of 85. With a silent nod, he put the paper away. Sasuke Uchiha had a proud smirk as he got a score of 95. A pale teen boy looked at his own score, before putting it away, almost uncaringly. Clapping his hands, Irika got the class attention back on him. Alright, you can discuss your test scores during lunch. For now, focus on class. Now, take out yesterday's work. Inside a dark, large underground cavern, the sound of footsteps echoed throughout the massive space. A figure, hidden by darkness, walked through the rocky place. Suddenly, flames burst to life from placed torches, illuminating the area, and the figure. Said figure was a man with handsome features. A sharp, unmarked face, and short blonde hair reaching down to his shoulders. Sharp gray eyes that held a glint of darkness, wickedness, and dark loyalty. He wore a white military-style suit. The man walked through the lit corridor, the sound of his boots echoing through the space. Finally, he reached his destination, a massive chamber with stone walls, pillars, and at the end, a high staircase with a throne resting on top. Approaching the throne, the man stopped midway, and knelt down on one knee, bowing to the figure sitting on the throne. Queen Beryl. Jadeite. The figure responded, the flames revealing a woman with long wavy red hair, and equally red eyes. Her skin, under the light available in the chamber, was deeply pale. She wore a long sleeveless purple dress, with red high heels on her feet. On her forehead, was a black tiara, with a gem on top in the center. From her shoulders, horns were popping out, revealing the woman to be anything but human. In her hand, she held a long staff with a red crystal on top. The man, now named Jadeite, bowed his head to the woman. My queen. The 4537th full moon comes this night, and once more, the seal that has kept us imprisoned weakens even more. I dare say, the seal should be weakened enough to allow me to pass through. At best, with some minions. Queen Beryl was silent, humming. I see. And what of the planet? If you speak of Japan, the humans have changed much since your attempt to conquer them many centuries ago. Both good and bad. They have grown weaker, lazier. No longer are they skilled warriors as they had been during the age of warlords and samurai. The land is no longer divided, but united under one emperor. Samurai have become a dead art, its style used by less than 1% now. However, what they lost in skill, they greatly make up in their technology and weaponry. I see the human race is as chaotic as ever. Beryl noted. Jadeite nodded. Indeed, my queen. However, you should know that in the last half-century, not only have there been other attempts of conquest on the planet, but certain humans have appeared to combat them. The news got Beryl's attention, as she raised a brow. Oh. Lifting up her staff, she summoned a crystal ball. The sphere began to glow, before it began playing a montage of past Kamen riders and Super Sentai, and their battles against their enemies. As she watched, Beryl frowned, growing deeper the more she saw. Once the feed ended, Beryl leaned back in thought. Troubling. To think such humans exist. The humans are indeed far different than they were in the past. Will they pose a threat to my plans? She asked her loyal servant. As far as our spies could tell, many of these heroes have vanished from the public. For all we know, they could be dead. Only a few remain, at best, yet they have not resurfaced for several years. However, we cannot discard the possibility of humans adapting their technology to reach such levels. Beryl nodded, having noted the high power of technology the shown heroes had in their arsenal. Massive robotic animals and vehicles. Able to combine to form a massive mechanical warrior. Just how much has the world changed? My queen, I propose a plan. Jadeite spoke, getting her attention. Speak. While weak, the seal still holds strong. However, over time, I have gone over plans to ensure your army's freedom. If we were to collect enough energy, collected from the humans' negative emotions, it may just destabilize the seal enough to shatter it completely, and free your kingdom. I see. Beryl muttered, nodding. However, the amount needed is vast, and in order to prevent being found out by humans, we might be forced to take our actions cautiously to avoid detection. Beryl narrowed her eyes, not pleased. You are suggesting we simply take our time and do things at a slow pace. It was not a question. The man bowed his head apologetic. I am sorry, my queen. Collecting massive amounts of negative energy would have an effect on the humans we seek to target, too large of an effect and it will be noticeable. If, forbid, the remaining masked heroes were to discover our plans, it could spell trouble for us. As much as she hated to say it, Beryl had to agree with Jadeite. The battle that had gotten her sealed in the first place has left her vastly weakened. Were she to be forced to battle the helmet-wearing humans before she managed to regain enough of her power, it would be her destruction. However, even if it was the safer path, she was not too keen on waiting. I do not have the patience to wait, Jadeite. She growled, glaring at the man. I have been denied godly power, twice, and sealed inside this infernal tomb for several millennia. I will not wait any longer for my revenge. She shouted. Her power, while a small amount compared to what it used to be, exploding out in her anger. Jadeite gritted his teeth, the power from his queen nearly squashing him. I understand, Queen Beryl. We have yet to locate the silver crystal. Nor the forbidden fruit you longing. However, if freedom is your longing, I have another plan. Narrowing her eyes, Beryl pulled her power back, allowing Jadeite to breathe easier. Speak. She ordered. Taking a deep breath, Jadeite nodded, standing up. There are multiple ways to gather the energy we need. And an easier way to do them unnoticed. Beryl raised a brow. Oh. Jadeite smirked. We simply need a distraction to take the attention away from our main objective. Luckily, with my free chance to leave the seal, I've taken the liberty of gathering us some allies. Allies, you say? Jounin Junior High. The sound of the school bell rang, signaling lunchtime. Walking out of her classroom, Usagi smiled widely as she stretched, glad to finally get a break from learning. Oh man, I thought lunch would never come. I'm so hungry. That's what she gets for not eating breakfast. Behind her, her best friend, female, at least, Naru Osaka, shook her head at her, though she had a small smile at her antics. It wasn't that bad, Usagi. Anyway, where do you want to go to eat? She asked. Turning to her, Usagi smiled. Why don't we go join Naruto and his friends? She asked, wanting to eat lunch together with her two best friends. Naru thought about it, before nodding. It wouldn't be the first time they did it. At first, it was strange, considering their difference in years, but after a while, she got used to it. Hey! Mind if I join you? Turning to the voice, Usagi and Naru groaned when they saw their class's smart, but obnoxious boy, Gyuryo Yumino. The glasses-wearing teen was always bragging about his high scores on tests, and to make matters worse, he doesn't do it to be arrogant, at least not to a large extent, but it didn't mean they liked to hear him scoring higher than them. The brown-haired boy nudged his glasses with a wide smile. I've been meaning to talk to Naruto on news concerning the new Kamen riders appearing around town. Kamen riders? Usagi asked, raising a brow. Naru sighed at her. Don't tell me you forgot again, Usagi. The Kamen riders have been Japan's heroes for almost 50 years. Along with the Super Sentai. They saved Japan from monsters countless times. How can you just forget them? There were statues dedicated to Kamen Rider Ichigo and Akarenger, the symbols of hope and justice, in every city, for Kami's sake. Yumino nodded with a large grin. That's right. No one knows who they really are. I personally think they could be government-trained soldiers. Or robots. They always appear when there are monsters, but there hasn't been any monster attacks in a few years. However, lately there's been reports of a red and blue Kamen Rider going around. I've been trying to find any information on them. Usagi slammed her fist on top of her palm with a look of realization. Oh yeah. Now I remember. Wasn't there one that looked like a game character? She giggled. He reminds of my favorite game. Mighty Action X. She shouted happily, punching the air. Naru nodded. There's so many heroes, it's strong to keep track. And with the addition of Sailor V, I'm starting to wonder if there might be some kind of League of Heroes. Yumino theorized. That would be so cool. Usagi exclaimed excitedly, stars in her eyes. Naru sighed, deciding to get things back on track. We can discuss superhero theories later. Let's go before lunch ends. Moments later, Usagi, Naru, Yumino, joined by two more of their classmates, were sitting within the small park next to the school with Naruto, who also brought his friends, Kiba, Shikamaru, and Choji. Everyone but Shikamaru and Choji were sitting on the placed benches. The Nara teen was laying down under the shade of a tree, his pal sitting down beside him. So, what did you get on your test? Naruto asked Usagi, sitting beside her as he grabbed her bento box, dumping the content into his own to mix the two. He had a contained bowl of ramen on his lap for later. Looking at his phone, he read a text from Yuriko, saying she was having lunch with her friends. Usagi groaned, her head dropping. 30%. PFT. Stop laughing. She shouted at her whiskered friend, who began chuckling. Kiba, on the other hand, had no problem letting out his laughter. Oh man. That's lower than me. He got out, leaning back to support himself as he laughed. Usagi puffed her cheeks out at him, before switching her glare to Naruto, punching him on the shoulder. Knock it off. What did you get? She challenged. Letting out a last few chuckles, Naruto smirked at her. Well, unlike you, I actually studied, and got an 85. What? Nara shook her head. See Usagi. Even Naruto knows when to study. Naruto gave the brunette a dull glare. I'll pretend that was a compliment, muffin head. Nara huffed at him. That nickname still doesn't make any sense, Naruto. It doesn't have to, Databeo. Usagi not liking that she was the only one with such a low score. Snatching away the mixed bento box, she grabbed and ate the first piece to make herself feel better. Her mom's cooking was great, but mixed with Kushina's, Kushina Abakan as the woman wanted her to call her, and it was absolutely divine. By the way. Have you guys heard? One of the female students with them, Yumiko if Naruto remembered her name correctly. There's been another jewelry store robbery in the city. There's been so many. Really? Naruto asked, before turning to Kiba. Isn't your mom part of the tracking unit put in charge of finding the perp? Kiba nodded, taking a bite out of his lunch. Yeah, she was called in after the 10th robbery with no sign of the robbers. She hasn't told me much, but is still looking for the robbers. Whoever they are, they must be good to keep vanishing before the police get there. Yeah, but I bet if Sailor V helped out, they could catch the bad guys quickly. Yumino added in his thoughts. Maybe, Naruto muttered, grabbing his piece from the bento. As bad as it is for me to say it, I can't blame them for wanting to steal those pretty jewels. Yumiko said, her voice dazed at the thought of having jewelry. Herself. I know, right? The other female student, who sadly Naruto didn't know her name, agreed with a wide smile. Jewelry is the best. Totally. Usagi nodded in agreement, sighing dreamily as she held up her hand. I would just love to have a diamond ring. Ooh. I want ruby earrings. A pearl necklace. I want jewelry so bad. The male's sweat dropped at the gushing girl, looking at each other with deadpan looks, and let out a collective sigh. Shikamaru summed up their thoughts perfectly. Troublesome. Oh. I just remembered. Naru spoke up. My mom started a sale at our family jewelry store yesterday. There are rings and earrings that even we could afford. You guys want to come after school? Of course I do. Usagi squealed with absolute glee, her eyes wide and shining like stars at night, followed by their two female friends who nodded vigorously. She turned to Naruto. Naruto, let's go. Naruto choked, having been chewing on his food. Punching his chst, he managed to swallow. Letting out a sigh of relief, he sweated as he looked at the hopeful Usagi. What? Me? I am busy. Yeah. Busy. Hanging out with Yumino after school. Right, Yumino? He asked, turning to the glasses-wearing teen, only to see that both he and Kiba were missing. Looking towards where Shikamaru and Choji were, he saw that they too were gone. UF traitors. Usagi clasped her hands together pleadingly, giving him the dreaded puppy look. Please, Naruto. You promised you would go with me somewhere I want to after we went to your favorite place last time. It's my turn. Try as he might, Naruto was unable to think of an excuse. He didn't have to pick up Azuka until at least an hour after he left school, so he, sadly, had free time. DMN it, fine. Squeal, he. Thank you, Naruto. Me and my promises. The whiskered blonde grumbled, tossing a piece of food into his mouth. After school jewelry. Naruto sighed as he watched the girls gush at the jewelry laid out on the display window of the story, with Naru pointing out a certain expensive one. Can we just go inside already? He asked. He didn't want to be there any longer than he needed to, especially during a sale. He knew how crazy females got during shopping. Throw in a sale, the whole place becomes a wrestling event. Thankfully, the girls agreed and so they entered the store. Inside, what Naruto saw made him want to stay outside. A large gathering of women of various ages and sizes were going absolutely ballistic over a display table which held a large amount of jewelry. All over the store, signs and posters of everything being 90% off was seen. The discount surprised him. While not much of a jewelry fan, Naruto knew selling anything for 90% was practically giving everything away. His sweat dropped when he spotted Neru's mother happily encouraging the rabid women. Even using a megaphone to boost her voice. And I thought Mom during my old tournaments was hyperactive. Wow, I've never seen Mom this excited about a sale before. Neru muttered, a bit surprised at her mother's sudden change in personality. She was always so professional and cool-headed. Guess she really wants to sell her jewelry. Usagi suggested, as Yumiko and her friend quickly made their way to look at the jewelry. Naruto just looked around. He really didn't see any point in buying jewelry. His mother wasn't really interested in the stuff, and Izuka was too young for it. So, he had nothing to do but just stand around, watching women and his friends practically tear each other limb from limb to get a diamond ring. Well, the older women at least, his friends just dragged each other all over the place to see the pretty things and gush together. However, as he stood there, he frowned as he got a strange feeling that something wasn't right. It was like his stomach was twisting with uneasiness. His parents always told him to trust his instincts, especially if it was a bad feeling. Looking around, he wondered what could be causing this. He knew it couldn't be something he ate, as he and Usagi always mixed their lunches. So, what could be the cause? As he tried to figure out the cause of this uneasiness, and the women fought over the jewelry, no one noticed a rather dark smirk grow on Mrs. Osaka's face as she watched the women struggle with each other. That's it. Squirm for your precious gems, you greedy humans. The more you give in to your greed, the more energy those jewels absorb for Queen Beryl. Mrs. Osaka thought with wicked glee. Mom. Flinching at being called, the disguised woman quickly set her expression to normal and turned around, spotting her daughter, along with a blonde teen girl. Oh. Neru. Welcome. And hello, Usagi. She greeted. Smiling at the woman, Usagi bowed. Hello, Neru's mom. Mom, are you really going to sell your jewelry at such a high discount? Neru asked, a frown on her face. Her mother moved her hand over her mouth as she chuckled. Why, of course dear. Everything must go. It's business, after all. That did nothing to ease Neru's worries. But some of this stuff costs a fortune. To sell it at such low prices. Mrs. Osaka waved her worries away. Now, sweetie. I know what I'm doing. Trust me. Why don't you and your friend go look around, see anything that catches your eyes? She offered. Neru continued to frown, still having her doubts. However, she was not given time to say anything, as an excited Usagi dragged her away. Left alone, the creature disguised as Mrs. Osaka, regained her disturbing smile, as the voice of her MSTR echoed in her head. Excellent work, Morga. Continue collecting the necessary energy for our MSTRS. Yes, Jadeite-sama. With Usagi, she frowned as she looked at the prices of the jewelry. Even with the discount, she would not be able to afford any of the jewelry. What's wrong, Usagi? Naruto asked, approaching his dejected friend. With tears in her eyes, Usagi pouted as she turned to Naruto. Naruto-kun. I really want to buy some jewelry, but I don't have any money. Sweat dropping at her reaction, Naruto shook his head, smirking lightly. He patted her on the top of her head. There. It's all right. I'm sure you'll be able to afford a ring another day. But I want jewels now. Usagi whined, eyes watering at not being able to get what she desired. Putting his arm around her, he began leading her towards the exit. I know you do, Bunny-chan. I'm not a bunny. The pouting girl mumbled, allowing Naruto to lead her away. Too sad to fight back. Whatever you say, Usagi-chan. With the glass entrance doors sliding open, Usagi sighed as the two stepped outside. What am I going to do? She asked as she took out her test, frowning at the grade. If I show this to Mom, she'll never let me buy any jewelry, or anything ever again. Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Maybe. Of course, you have no one to blame but yourself. You really should have studied. Usagi glared at him, pointing an accusing finger at him. Like you're one to talk. You usually get as low grades as me. The only reason you scored so high, was because of your stupid ramen. She accused, with Naruto looking away, whistling innocently. Growling in frustration, Usagi began to crunch her paper into a ball. Stupid grade. I blame you. She shouted, tossing the ball over her shoulder. Unknown to her, the paper ball lightly hit a person on the head as he stood behind her. Hey! Watch where you're throwing things, bunhead. Blinking at the voice, Usagi quickly turned around. Ah! I'm sorry, sir. She apologized. Bowing. However, she soon cried in panic as the person she accidentally hit began inspecting her paper. 30%. Wow, you really need to study a lot harder, bunhead. The tall man, dressed in a suit, had short dark hair, and shades over his eyes, stated. Turning red in embarrassment and anger, Usagi snatched the paper out of his grasp. I don't think it's any of your business. She stated, pulling her eyelid down at him, sticking her tongue out. Turning around with a huff, she grabbed Naruto's hand, and began dragging him away. Whoa! Hey! Usagi, slow down. The man watched the two blonde teens walk away, one dragging the other, humming in thought. That girl. He thought, before shaking his head clear, and turned his gaze to the jewelry store. This is the only store I haven't checked. It must be in here. Taking off his shades, revealing blue eyes, the man smirked. The silver crystal. Naruto and Usagi. With his arms behind his head, Naruto followed behind his grumbling friend. Who does he think he is? Reading my test score. Talk about rude. Well, you did throw your paper at him, Usagi. Naruto pointed out, getting a glare. That was an accident and you know it. Naruto waved her off. Hi listen, I need to go pick up Azuka. Want to come with me? Usagi sighed, shaking her head. Thanks, but no thanks. I think I'll go to the arcade, before heading home and face Mom. Nodding, Naruto gave her a quick one-arm hug, before walking off, waving behind him. Good luck, Bunny-chan. You're going to need it, he called back teasingly. Usagi puffed her cheeks at him, sticking her tongue out at his back. Even though he didn't see it, she could hear his laughter, making her huff. Stupid whiskers. She grumbled, before sighing and made her way to the game center crown. She heard that there was a brand new Sailor V game and wanted to check it out. Unknown to her, a certain black cat was following her. Naruto hummed a song as he made his way towards his sister's school. As he walked, he thought over what to cook when he got home. With his parents always so busy, sometimes it was up to him to cook, being the eldest sibling. Thankfully, his parents taught him all he needed to know to not burn the house down. As he walked, he felt his phone vibrate. Taking it out, he saw he got a text. Hey, Naruto. Picking up Azuka for ya. We're stopping for ice cream on the way back. We'll get you something as well. See ya at home. Yuriko. He sighed at the message. Guess he was heading home instead, he thought as he put his phone away. Yuriko Murakami was his foster sister. His mother brought her home after Yuriko lost her mother in an accident 10 years ago. She's been living with them since then, becoming part of the family. She was like his little sister, being a year younger than him, and as energetic and hyper as Izuka. Though she can be a handful sometimes, Naruto was happy to have her in his life as much as Izuka. Scratching his whiskered cheek, he looked around, deciding to take a shortcut home. Spotting a small hill close by, he took it. As he climbed the stairs, he noticed a figure standing at the top, reading from a book. Not paying him any attention, Naruto moved to pass him. "Congratulations." He froze as the man spoke. He glanced at him, wondering if he was talking to him. "Excuse me?" The man raised his hooded head to him, revealing a teen, perhaps a year or two older than Naruto, with shoulder-length long dark hair reaching his shoulders with his bangs swept to the right side and falling slightly over the right side of his face. The man smirked at him. "You have accomplished your goal in passing your test, have you not? The first victory of many to come." Naruto blinked at him, glancing around awkwardly. He turned back to the man in black. "How did you know I passed my test?" The man ignored the question, turning to head down. "According to this book," he said, looking back at his book. "This will be a special day for you. One where you start your journey to reaching your dream." Naruto blinked, confused. "My dream?" The mysterious man's smirk grew. "To be king." Naruto's eyes widened. "How do you dash?" Suddenly, a group of children ran past him, distracting Naruto as he looked at the kids. When he turned back to the man, he saw that he was gone. "Nanny?" He looked around, trying to spot him, but couldn't see any sign of him. Left alone at the stairs, Naruto wondered what the heck that was all about. Who was that guy? A glint at the corner of his eyes drew his attention. Looking down, Naruto saw something on the ground. "What the?" he questioned as he knelt down, picking the object up. "What's this? Did that guy drop it?" he asked, looking the object over. It looked like a stopwatch. He muttered, looking at the black watch-like object. "Naruto." Looking up, Naruto's eyes widened when he saw the familiar girl in white he met that morning, standing before him, with what looked like a gun of all things aimed at him. "Wah. I'm sorry," the girl said. "There's not much time." Bang! "You understand what you must do, correct?" Jadeite asked as he stood in front of a figure, hidden by darkness. "Yes, yes." The figure, a woman, replied, waving her hand uncaringly. "We shall provide your minion with a distraction for the authorities while she gathers the needed energy from her victims. Don't you worry your pretty little head, Mr. Jadeite. We'll get the job done." Jadeite nodded in approval. "Good, and in return the Dark Kingdom shall aid in the development of your organization." The woman nodded, crossing her arms under her rather large bust, pushing them up. "I certainly hope so. We both have too much to lose, and equal longing for our respective organizations to be reborn. It would be bad for our partnership to have trouble." Narrowing his eyes at the woman, Jadeite nodded before vanishing, leaving the woman, who chuckled. "Such a stern man. Oh well, whether he can be trusted or not, doesn't matter. Sooner or later, the great Shocker organization shall be reborn." Usagi. With a smile on her face, Usagi walked out of Game Center Crown. She had spent the last half hour playing the new Sailor V game, and she loved it. Even more when she had her crush, Motoki Furuhata, an employee of the place, to talk to. So yeah, she had a good time. She really liked the game. It was like being Sailor V herself. Sailor V is so lucky. I bet she doesn't have to worry about school or tests. Being a superhero must be so cool. She thought in jealousy, wishing she was just like Sailor V. Looking up at the sky, she frowned when she noticed the hint of orange. "I better get home," she muttered sadly, once more taking out her test. She let out a deep sigh, knowing she couldn't stall things any longer. Sooner or later, she will have to face her mother with her grade. She only hoped her father will be there to calm her down. With a final whimper, and a small prayer, she turned to head home, when she bumped into someone, knocking them back down. "Oi!" She winced as she fell on her butt. "Not again." She moaned as she rubbed her behind. Opening her eyes, she gasped at seeing the person she knocked over, along with their stuff. "Oh my Cammy. I'm so sorry." Quickly getting up, she held her hand to the person to help them up. Taking a closer look at the person she knocked over, Usagi blushed slightly at seeing it was an appealing woman. She had long dark green hair, amber-colored eyes, and had a soft caramel skin tone, looking like smooth silk to the touch. She also possessed a mature body, with a curved waist that reminded Usagi of a swimsuit model, visible even under her white suit. "She's so gorgeous." The teen thought jealousy. Seeing the hand, the woman smiled, looking at Usagi. Her eyes widened a small fraction as she looked at the teen, completely missed by Usagi. Continuing to smile, the woman took the offered hand, thanking the blonde as she stood up. "Thank you, and don't worry. Accidents happened," the woman said, kneeling down to pick up her dropped stuff. "Here, let me help you," Usagi suggested, helping the woman pick up her things. She felt so embarrassed at knocking the woman down, as well as her stuff. "Again, I'm so sorry," she apologized. The woman chuckled, shaking her head. "It's fine," she said, before noticing a paper on the ground. "Oh," she muttered, picking it up. Usagi noticed what the woman had in her hand, and let out a startled cry, her face turning red. Why must everyone keep looking at her score? "Oh my," the woman muttered. "I can see why you were distracted. Please, don't read that," Usagi begged, covering her red face. Oh, she was so embarrassed. The woman smiled gently at the teen, holding the paper to her. "There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Everyone gets bad grades. You just need to learn to study harder next time." Usagi pouted as she took her test, frowning as she looked at her score, like it was mocking her. "But I hate studying. And Mom's going to be so mad when she sees this," she muttered sadly. The woman chuckled at the teen. "I hated studying too. But if you want to make it somewhere in life, you have to make sacrifices. And I'm sure your mother just wants you to have a good future and graduate so you can get a good job and prepare yourself for what's to come," she advised helpfully. Usagi frowned. She understood what the woman was saying, but didn't mean she liked it. The woman got to her feet, and offered a hand to Usagi. Smiling in thanks, Usagi took it. As she got to her feet, the woman kept her smile aimed at her. "Don't worry about your mother, I'm sure she loves you very much, and wants you to have a happy future. All she wishes, is for you to grow to be smart enough to handle anything," the green-haired woman said. Growing her own smile, Usagi nodded, feeling happier. "Okay, thanks. I'm Usagi Tsukino by the way," Usagi said, bowing to the woman, who returned it. "Setsunameo, pleasure to meet you, Usagi-san. Now, you better hurry home before it gets dark." Eyes widening at seeing the time, Usagi nodded. She was going to be late getting home. "Okay. Thank you again, Setsuna-san," Usagi said, bowing once more to the woman, who chuckled. Nodding, the woman moved past Usagi, walking off. Smiling at the woman's back, Usagi turned to head home, when she spotted something on the ground. Huh. Looking down, she spotted a gold object. Kneeling, she picked it up. "What's this?" In her hand, was what looked like a golden brooch. It was a circular plate, with a crescent moon design of two shades, the top part being darker. Inside the dark half, were 6 brighter shade circles of different sizes lined along the inner edge, with the larger size near the sides, getting smaller into the middle. In said middle, was a larger circle with a star inside it, and a smaller circle inside the star's center. On the sides, top, and bottom of the brooch, were different colored spheres. Red on top, yellow on the right, blue at the bottom, and green on the left. Did she drop this? She muttered, and quickly turned around to call Setsuna, only to see her missing. She's gone. She looked around for any sign of the woman, but couldn't spot her. Looking back at the brooch, Usagi frowned, wondering what she should do. Maybe I should hold on it. I can return it if I see her again. While she knew she shouldn't take something that didn't belong to her, she also knew she couldn't just leave it on the ground for someone to take. I'm just holding it for her. It could be very important to her, and I'll return it if I see her again. Nodding at the plan, Usagi pocketed the brooch, before making her way home. From a nearby alley, the familiar black cat with the crescent moon forehead mark walked out, staring after Usagi. It narrowed its eyes, before it suddenly spoke. That girl, could she be one? The cat muttered in a female voice. She then turned in the direction of where Setsuna was. And that woman, I sensed great power coming from her. Could she be? Where am I? Naruto asked as he opened his eyes. No longer was he at the hill passage. Nor was he in the city, it seemed, as he looked around his new location. He was surrounded by trees. So many, that it blocked the view of the sky. Looking around, he scratched his head in confusion. Am I dreaming? He wondered. A dream would explain how he got there. Last thing I remember is, ah. His eyes widened as he remembered. That girl. She was pointing something at me, Databeo. He shouted in a panic. Did she kill me? I mean, she had a gun. At least I think it was a gun, Databeo. He muttered, crossing his arms as he closed his eyes in thought. Would SCK if she did kill me? I don't even know her, much less did anything that deserved being killed for. He tightened his eyes in frustration. DMN. I better not be dead. I have too much to live for. I never got to beat Mom's ramen eating record. He shouted. The sound of twigs breaking made Naruto tense. Spinning around, he narrowed his eyes at the area around him. He wasn't alone. Who's there? He called. Standing still, he watched for any movement. Standing there, the silence dragged on, making him wonder if he was just hearing things. Eyes widening, he span around, hearing the sound again from behind him. Show yourself. There. For a split second, his eyes caught something bright pass through the trees. Hey! He called, and began running in the direction where he saw the glimpse. Making it past a tree, he finally caught sight of a figure, running away. Hey! Wait! He shouted as he ran after the person. Whoever they were fast, as he could only spot them in a far distance. However, he will not let the person get away. He had questions for them. So, he ran after the figure, not knowing where he was going, yet at the same time, not caring. All he sought were answers. As he chased the figure, he squinted his eyes. Is that a dress? He thought, seeing the figure's clothes were a bright white, and long. Shaking his head, he focused on catching the possible woman. He thinks it's a woman. Could be a man, no matter how creepy it would be to see a man in a dress. Shaking his head, he focused back on the issue at hand. However, as he ran past a tree, he looked around, scowling at losing sight of the mystery woman. DMN. Where did she go? Boom! He jumped at the sudden explosion. What the hell? He shouted, looking around. It sounded close by. His ears then picked up following sounds. It sounded like fighting. Raising a brow, he cast one last glance around for the woman. Not seeing any sign of her, he decided to check out the sounds, and headed in the direction they seemed to come from. Not knowing that behind a tree, a feminine figure in a white sparkling dress, stepped out, a sad frown on their face as red and silver eyes followed after Naruto. Following the sound of the noise, Naruto could hear it getting closer. "It sounds like a war," he muttered, picking up what sounded like explosions, before seeing an opening in the forest ahead of him. Running through, he skidded to a stop over a cliff. Peering over the edge, his eyes widened at what he saw. Down below, in what looked like a mountainous open field, a large mass of bodies were scattered all over the place. Men and women were everywhere, lying deathly still on the ground. Smoke rose from craters throughout the place. "What the hell happened here?" he asked, before flinching as a large explosion occurred. Looking at the direction of the explosion, he gasped as he spotted 3 figures standing at the center of the field. 2 facing one, with all 3 looking to be wearing armor. One of them wore black and magenta/pink armor, with a black and white stripe across his chest to his left shoulder, with a second going midway down the left side of his chest and crossing through the longer line. Their pink helmet had thick black bars going through the helmet similar to a barcode, with large bug-like green eye lenses. Beside them stood another figure in black, blue, and red armor, with the red and blue theme going diagonal in plate pattern. On the helmet, their eye lenses were pronged upward, with the left being pinkish red, and the right lens being blue in color. However, it was the person they were facing that shocked him. It was the black and gold armored man from his dream. "What the hell?" he muttered. Down below, the pink/black figure pulled out a device, looking similar to a touch-screen device, while placing a hand on the device attached to their waist. With a pull, he pulled the belt to rest on their side, while attaching the touchscreen device onto the front of their waist, where it stuck. Final Kamen Ride, Decade. In a flash of light, the figures, Kamen Rider Decade, armor changed, becoming mainly black in color, as what looked like card holders appeared across his chest, holding different cards inside. His helmet became silver, as the eye lenses became sharper in design, and dark pink. On top of his forehead, rested a card with his image. Meanwhile, the red/blue rider reached down and took out 2 bottles from their belt, before they took out what looked like a large sample bottle with 2 caps, and a knob on top. "Now, let's begin the experiment," a male voice called, as he tapped the knob on the large bottle. "Great. Oh yeah." Turning the bottle upside down, he inserted it into his belt. "Genius." Grabbing the lever on the side of their belt, Kamen Rider Build began turning. As he did so, a factory-like machine appeared around him, with numerous bottles appearing on conveyor belts. "Are you ready?" Henshin. Kanzen Muketsu no Bottle Yero. Build Genius. Sujii. Monasujii. In a flash of steam and light, Build was now decked in white armor, with a large amount of bottles inserted into the armor along his arms and legs. Naruto gasped at the new forms the 2 evidential Kamen Riders possessed. "Holly SHT. That's awesome, Databeo," he said excitedly, not seeing the woman from before walking towards him. "Ha!" The black/gold armored man chuckled, almost mockingly. "You believe your increase in power will be enough to defeat me?" he asked rhetorically. "Humph." Decade, complete, sounded, taking out his ride booker, sword mode. Build, Genius, took out his full bottle buster. "I've got the winning formula," he exclaimed, trailing his finger across the stack of bottles on the side of his helmet, flicking his fingers outward. "Well then," their opponent muttered as he started glowing with power. "Come face your destroyer. There is only one destroyer of worlds, and that's me." Decade shouted as he charged forward, Build right behind him. "What the hell is going on?" Naruto asked himself, completely confused about the turn of events he found himself in. "This is where the end begins," Naruto yelped, jumping at the sudden new voice. Turning around, he gasped as he gazed at the woman behind him. He could not see her face, as seemingly it was hidden by a strange glimmer of light that prevented him from seeing through. She wore a white dress that trailed all the way to the ground, and had long silver-gray hair in 2 long ponytails. Behind her was what looked like glowing wings. "Who are you?" he asked. He saw the woman frown sadly. "Someone you have forgotten, yet know fully, but also someone you have yet to meet." Naruto frowned in confusion. "What? That doesn't make sense," he shouted. The woman lowered her head, making him feel guilty for shouting. "After tonight, nothing will make much sense anymore," she said mysteriously, looking back up at him. "Tell me, if you could possess power, power to rewrite history to your longing, power to rearrange the stars, what would you do with it?" she asked suddenly. Naruto raised a brow at her. "What? What are you talking about?" he asked. "The time draws near. You must answer before then. What would you do if you were given great power? Power, where the cost will be something you would never see coming, and too great to change back. Power, that turns a man into a god, but his soul into a demon, and crack the very planet under your feet. Would you reject that power, knowing your life will never be the same again? Would you even have a choice in rejecting? Darkness quickly approaches, where the light that fights it grows weaker by the second. Will you become the king the world needs, or the demon that is required, Naruto Namikaze?" "I don't understand," Naruto stated. The woman smiled gently, and stepped forward, nearing him, while down below, the 3 continued to battle. Pushing each other away, they began to glow fiercely, while Naruto's eyes widened as he felt something warm press against his cheek. The fighters then launched themselves at each other, as the woman pulled away, smiling at him. "You will, in time." The fighters clashed, erupting the field in a massive explosion. Boom! Eyes snapping open, Naruto sat up with a gasp. "You're awake. Good." Turning his head, Naruto's eyes widened as he spotted the girl in white. He quickly stood up, pointing a finger at her. "You! What did you do to me?" he demanded. He looked around, seeing he was in a metallic room. "Where the hell am I?" he shouted, glaring at the girl, who held up her hands. "Please, let me explain," she pleaded, slowly moving to stand on a spot, with Naruto moving away from her. "I know you have a lot of questions, but please, I need to show you something first. After that, I'll explain everything," she said. Naruto narrowed his eyes at her cautiously, before nodding slowly. Nodding back, the girl raised her hands, and a holographic screen appeared, making Naruto jump. He watched the girl moving her hands, pressing hollow buttons, before something appeared on the screen. "I need you to watch this. Please." Still cautious, Naruto slowly moved towards her, keeping his eyes on her in case she tried anything. Once next to her, he looked at the holoscreen. His eyes widened when he saw the same black/gold armored figure. The girl looked at him. "My name is Tsukuyumi. I come from 50 years in the future, in the year 2070. And this is you," she revealed, making Naruto freeze. "In the future you become a horrible, villainous demon king. Oma Millennium." So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Juubi no Shinju on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.